Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning.
So today we're going to talk about, well, last week we talked about dating and project. Today we're going to talk about the leading causes of divorce in relationships, that you're already in a committed relationship and it's not working.
Right. Yeah, you're married, you've committed to one another, and you're finding yourself unhappy. What is the leading cause of divorce among most couples?
hmm So a long time ago, and I've probably mentioned this in a podcast before, I read an article called The Tyranny of Expectations. Have you read?
Ooh, no. I'll have to look it up.
I don't know if I shared that one with you. Um, the tyranny of expectations is that we go into relationships with this idea of what it should look like
That's true. Yeah,
and how it will go.
absolutely. Yeah. So we've got this expectation and maybe it's not realistic. Is that what the
hmm
article points out?
Yeah, and I think it's all encompassing, not just relationship, but a lot of times we go into our bonds thinking it's going to go a certain way and it goes a different way than we
Yeah, a
expect.
friendship, a job with, relationships with coworkers, employers. I can totally see that.
Yeah. So this one podcaster I was listening to, Rachel, the other day, he said that the number one reason that people divorce isn't necessarily infidelity, spending too much money, or not doing enough of the laundry. He said it's unspoken expectations.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't
Yeah.
find him again. Well, I was on the TikTok listening to him, and then I couldn't find him again on the feed or the algorithm. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow, we do not make it explicit what we need and want to our partners.
So true. As couples therapists, I think you and I see that all the time. I think
hmm
that is the number one issue we end up talking about with clients when they come in and they're kind of on the fence, like, are we going to stay together or are we going to call it quits?
hmm
It's that there are needs or longings that are not being met. There are fears that are not being comforted. And the
hmm
way they're going about trying to express these things is not clear to their
Right.
partner. It's
Yeah.
getting missed, it's going right over the other person's head.
hmm Yeah. And what might create some tyranny of expectations for folks? Like what would make me believe that I'm going to get roses every day, I'm going to get a diamond monthly, or I'm going to get romanced on the regular? What would make me believe these things when I enter into a long-term monogamous relationship?
Yeah, I think some of it is media and what we see on in romantic movies or television shows or what you read in books. I would say most people aren't expecting roses every day and diamonds every month, but I love that example. But I think a lot of people expect their partner to read their mind.
Mind reading. hmm And that is a cognitive distortion, that other people know what you want.
Yeah, or they should.
hmm
I put should in quotes, right?
Right.
They,
You should
they
know.
really shouldn't. Nobody can read your mind, but many of us feel that, other people should be able to know what I need and always meet that need every single time without me having to say anything, without me having to ask. They should just know.
So when you come home and after a long day of work and you want that hug and you want to be greeted with all this warmth like a golden retriever responds to you in the morning when you get up, or your dog. Well, if you didn't tell your partner that that makes you feel longed for, wanted, and cherished, then how would they know? You know.
Right? They probably don't because they're a different person who has grown up with different experiences,
Mm-hmm.
relationships. Yeah,
Yeah. Mind reading gets us into trouble.
big time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because what might look like disappointment may be tired or frustrated. When you're looking to your partner, you're trying to figure out what do they want or need just based upon their affect, you're going to read their emotion one way when it's something else.
Yeah.
And people misinterpret each other.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even healthy relationship dynamics, you are going to misinterpret your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do not get it right 100% of the time. We make
Yeah.
automatic assumptions and we
Mm-hmm.
have very strong feelings in response to those assumptions.
Yes. Automatic assumptions. Yeah. Can we speak a little more to that? What's an automatic assumption in a relationship?
Yeah. Well, I think an example of that would be like, I lean over to give my partner a kiss and they lean away, and I automatically assume I must be disgusting and undesirable to them. But later
Mm-hmm.
I find out they just had coffee and they were embarrassed because their breath might smell bad. Right. Right. Like, yeah. So I
Yeah.
get all upset, heartbroken because I feel rejected in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of my assumption.
Right. And that goes back to that awesome book that Catherine Ream in EFT taught us, is that the difficult conversations. And that's an amazing book for our listeners to read.
Oh, say
You,
it again.
oh, yes, difficult conversations. I may have
Nice.
shared that with you some time
I
ago.
think you have.
Is like you just said, they experienced that as rejection when the other person was afraid they have bad breath. Well, that doesn't get talked about.
Right. Because
Then what?
I'm probably not saying I'm afraid that you're not interested in affection with me. I'm feeling rejected and insecure right now,
Mhm.
right? I might go quiet. I might storm off. I might go, what was that about? Yeah, or start an argument. You always do this.
Mhm.
Why do I even try? Right, I'm going to go into maybe some of those four horsemen that the Gottman Institute talks about: criticizing, contempt, stonewalling.
Yeah. And that unspoken mishap or misinterpretation, 2 days later, you're arguing about where we're going to eat, but it wasn't even about where we're going to eat.
Hmm.
It was that you turned away when I went to reach for you with a kiss.
Yeah, yeah. Missed reaches, I
Missed
would
reach.
say, is what we mean by when we're saying like a lack of communication
Mhm.
or unrealistic expectations. It's these moments when you're with your partner and you reach for connection in some
Mhm.
way, a kiss, asking them if they want to watch a show with you, asking if they want to go on a walk, whatever. You're making this reach and they miss it. They don't
Mhm.
respond by reaching back. You're left feeling rejected.
Not wanted. And that's, we say it's not infidelity, but those missed intimate moments
Hmm.
and make someone feel so unwanted.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. Here I am trying to connect with you, right? Either through affection and intimacy or just by spending time together or
Mm-hmm.
by doing thing like an act of service or getting you a gift that I feel is expressing my love for you
Mm-hmm.
and it gets totally missed. The
Yeah.
expectation I have in that moment of how you're going to respond to my reach is
Well
not
stated.
met. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well stated, Rachel. My expectation is that you know I want to be intimate today. You should know
Right.
that. I mean, I didn't do
Yeah.
my hair, which I didn't really do very much with my hair. I didn't do my hair for no reason.
Right.
You got to see me. Don't you see? I did all this for you. Just these,
Yeah.
you know, well, they get misread. Well, I thought you were getting dressed up for your podcast or for your work day or for, I don't know, just because it makes you feel good. So people don't know. They miss that unspoken expectation in the moment.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
miss the reach, the bid for connection.
Bid for connection. That is something we talk a lot about in EFT therapy. Emotionally focused therapy is attachment, reach, and cues. Do you see me? Do you know that
Yeah.
I'm here?
Yeah. Am I important? Do I matter? Can I
Mm-hmm.
depend on you? All of
Yeah.
those things. Yeah. What happens if someone is in a relationship and they expect for the other person to always meet all of their needs all the time?
Okay. There it is. Yeah.
It gets heavy, right? Like for that other
Mhm.
person, do you think?
Yeah, I was listening to another podcaster because I'm a nerd. Is she said this is a bit of a fallacy because if I think that you, Rachel, as my colleague and in this practice, that you would like make me feel good about our direction, validate me daily on about our path to just, how we're doing things as therapists. If I expected you to daily build me up
Hmm.
versus I didn't garner up some, you know,
Self-esteem, confidence. Yeah.
yes, affirmations from God and my own personhood and who I am. And I'm expecting you to do that for me to keep this thing going. What's happening? That's what happens when I start depending too much on someone else for my confidence and my self-worth.
Yeah, it's like you're always going to end up feeling disappointed. I
Mhm,
feel if you're putting yourself in that situation. If all of your worth and value and lovableness is coming from an external source, I just kind of think that's a recipe for disaster.
mhm.
Nobody out there is going to be able to meet every single need all the time at a rate of 100%.
How you gonna do that?
I know. Like, yeah, your partner, your spouse, like probably has a job or some other responsibility that they can't
Mhm,
just like drop and yeah,
mhm. Yeah. The expectation that someone else is gonna keep you feeling good about you?
yeah, like make you feel whole.
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
You've got to learn that you're already whole. You're already enough on your
mhm.
own. Yeah.
Yeah, you are enough. You're more than enough. God
Yes.
made you wonderfully and beautifully, and you are enough. But the anxious pursuer is like, well, I gotta make them feel good because I'm an anxious pursuer in my bond. I gotta
Mhm.
prop him up. I gotta make him feel good. I gotta talk about all the good things he does. That's a lot of responsibility on your partner.
Yeah. When someone's put in that position and they're human, and so they're not able to, like I said, meet every single need of yours 100% of the time. And then here you are getting upset when that
Mm-hmm.
happens, and it will over and over again, right? And I'm not talking about someone that like meets zero needs and doesn't even put in any effort. This is like a normal relationship dynamic. I needed you to call me when you were going to be late and you didn't do that. And I got scared, right? But you're taking it to an extreme, an unhealthy level that like it's your responsibility to make sure I'm never scared. That's too much.
That's too much. Absolutely. You're right, Rachel. That is way too much responsibility on one person to, you know, hey, you're so great. You're so wonderful. Thank you for picking up after yourself. Thank you for living. Thank you for breathing. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
the, like,
Yeah. It's if you're realizing that you need that like constant validation, constant affection, like unless your partner is just waiting on you hand and foot, you do not feel lovable, then a big part of that is your own inner work.
well stated. Your own inner work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
not everything's your partner's fault if a relationship isn't going well. We,
no.
we got to accept our what is that, like, actions are part of the cycle when there's
Mm-hmm.
conflict. Yeah.
And Rachel does amazing work with her young people and doing their own inner work about reparenting. And that's something we do in EFIT. Um, if you come to me as an individual, I want to help you reparent your inner child using your OWA. One of our wonderful people taught us OWA. They came up with that acronym. Is that acronym
Yes,
for
I think so.
older,
Older, wiser,
wiser,
other.
other?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the L?
Older, wiser, other. OWA. I think it's just OWO.
Oh, okay.
Older, wiser, other. OWA. So your inner child may need an OWA. So we do the EFIT therapy. We take the older, wiser, other, your true self, and you go in there and you reparent the inner child, the exile parts of the self that, you know, felt unwanted and unlovable. Expecting
Right.
your partner to come in and be the older, wiser other to your inner child. How
Yeah.
you going to do that?
Yeah. So I think,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
we're doing this inner work and we're realizing like I need to learn the difference between these unrealistic expectations that I have brought into this relationship, right? The
Mhm.
difference between that and an actual need.
Mhm. Yeah, a need is that you respect me, that you're kind to me, that you'll give me a hug when I need a hug. Needs are between a lateral relationship look like we're validating each other, social reciprocity, equal exchange.
Yeah,
This gets kind of sticky in relationship. Like,
it does.
yeah, one partner's expecting them to reparent their inner child, and that's not their job.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about that on the last podcast, the dating a project one. Yeah.
We can't fix those parts. So it's important, like Rachel said, do your inner work, go get a therapist, do the inner work. So those expectations are not becoming a tyranny in your bond or becoming unrealistic.
Mhm.
You know,
So that you're no longer looking at a partner as someone who's going to complete you and make you whole.
Jerry Maguire.
You're
Yep.
looking at them as, someone who is going to enhance and challenge you. right?
Mm-hmm.
Enhance your life, but also challenge you in a positive way, in a healthy way, challenge
Mm-hmm.
you to grow and be better. And you'll do the same for them, challenge them to grow and be better. That's what you're saying. This is mutual, coming together.
Mutual.
Hmm.
What's the scene in Jerry Maguire where Tom Cruise comes to, what's her name in the movie? I don't know her.
I don't know. You'll have to tell me the
Renee?
scene.
Yeah. The scene is where, he comes in there and they had some distance in their relationship due to circumstances. And Tom Cruise, the famous line is he looks at her, Renee something, I can't remember her
Mm,
name. We'll figure that out later. Um, he looks at her and says, "You complete me.
mm.
You complete me."
And the
That
audience
sounds awesome.
swoons, right? Oh, I want that.
Mm, I want to be, I want to be complete.
Mhm.
Ooh, what's wrong with that line in the real world of therapy and relationship and expectations? What's wrong with that line? You complete
Yeah, it's like it's saying I didn't feel complete before I met you. You are filling some void, some hole. There was something, missing about me, yeah,
me.
that you are filling.
And
Yep.
truly, that person cannot fill that void.
No, no other person can ever make you feel whole. And that is why you're setting yourself up for failure by depending on somebody else to meet all of your needs and not learning how to meet a lot of those needs on your own.
Hmm. Because then you get into the tyranny of expectations when it's 6 months to a year to 2 to 3 years down the road, and you're like, well, they're not fulfilling me. I'm feeling in distress and they're not, soothing that part of myself. And it's like, well, they are there as a secure attachment, and I want them to be there for you. However, there's going to be some inner work so you don't have too big of expectations on your partner in life, to meet all of those needs.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how would someone know, Linda? Like, is what I'm asking for, like a want? Because it's okay to have some expectations in relationship, right? Like, I expect you to respect me. Like
Don't call me
basic
names.
thing, like I expect you to be trustworthy. I expect you to be loyal and faithful, right? Like it's important to have, what's the word I'm looking for? Like standards, you know,
Standards. Good.
those kinds of expectations. But what we're talking about here, it's like those expectations are unrealistic. They're more of a want than a need sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how would you in the relationship know if you're expecting too much?
How would I become aware of that? Am I expecting too much? Is this something that I just want and don't need? Or is this an actual need in a relationship, a romantic relationship?
Hmm. So that's where it gets back to those standards, like you just said. Is this person faithful to me? There's a standard. Does this person show me some respect? Lots of respect as a human. Do they confide in me about big decisions? Can they lean on me when I'm sad or when they're sad? Those are basic relational needs. What
Yeah.
would be an irrational or a blown up exaggerated expectation versus those types of basic standards?
We're never going to argue or fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're always going to be passionate and I expect you to always give me butterflies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We
And
are going to have the same values and opinions on everything.
politics, religion, all that jazz.
How to spend our money, how to raise our kids.
Mm-hmm. What denomination or non-denomination or nothing, you know. Yeah. People are unique in their own DNA. We all have our own thumbprint, right? Respect that your partner has their own makeup and they're not going to be able to always agree with you or always uh, be there in the exact moment, in the exact way, and exact all these things. That's too much to expect.
Yeah, yeah. Or I'm never gonna feel lonely in this relationship. I'm never gonna get hurt by you. Like those types of expectations, unrealistic. All, everything we just mentioned.
Yeah, I'm going to look at you some days and roll my eyes. You know, you know, I'll be like, well, what are we leaving that that trailer out there on the yard for? I'm gonna look at, my partner, Charlie, I'm gonna be like, what are you doing that for? I'm gonna have these things, but that doesn't mean he has to change all his behaviors to meet my expectations.
Oh, that one. That's a huge unrealistic expectation. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we were talking about last week in dating a project. Yeah, I expect my partner to change everything about them to be the perfect partner for me, to be exactly what I need all the time.
Now, in 5 years, you may be able to develop your own AI partner, artificial intelligence, and you may be able to make it, if I do A, then B happens. Build a partner. That's what, build a bear, we'll build a partner. One day we'll be able to do
Oh
that.
my goodness.
Now, they won't have blood flowing through their veins.
Mm,
Your AI partner, they're not going to have their own opinions. They're just going to be, if you say A, then they say B.
yeah,
Okay. How's that going to help you grow?
I don't know. They're not going to challenge you ever. Oh, that might be an unrealistic expectation. My partner will never challenge me, my
Hmm.
opinions and values and decisions.
Well, they oughta, because you're not right all of the time.
100%. That we already said that's it. They'll enhance and challenge you
Hmm.
in a healthy relationship. Yeah. Expand your worldview, help you see things from new perspectives. That's what we mean by challenge.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
we all think we're right all of the time. It's called the right reflex syndrome. We all think we're right about all things all of the time. It's a fallacy in our thinking as a human, and we need someone else to challenge us on, well, no, have you ever thought of it this way?
Yeah.
Using this cup versus a plastic bottle. If you use this cup, that's less plastic in the ocean. Bingo, you're right, it is. And sometimes I'm a hypocrite and I use plastic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm yeah, right here.
I'm doing my best here. I need some recycling people to come here.
Hmm.
But someone challenge you on what you think's okay and what's not okay to
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So with challenge, there comes this sense of conflict for a lot
Mhm.
of people, right? We're going to circle back to conflict if that's okay.
Of course.
Because we're talking about, we're saying the leading cause of divorce is missed bids for affection,
Mhm.
connection, missed bids for connection,
Yes.
a lack of communication, these unrealistic expectations. And so if I reach for my partner
Mhm.
and they don't respond in the way I expected them to,
Mhm.
I'm feeling hurt or afraid,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't bring that up because I don't want to cause conflict,
Mm-hmm.
what is going to happen over time?
Resentment and contempt. Like what Dr. Gottman says, number one cause of divorce is contempt for your partner.
Yeah.
I resent you. You made
Yeah.
me mad 5 years ago when you decided we were going to live here and I wanted to live there. But I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you.
Hmm.
Contempt.
Yeah. Why do you think so many people are afraid of conflict, uncomfortable with conflict? It seems like if we rock the boat, this relationship is destined for failure and conflict must be avoided at all costs. Some people truly believe that. Like, they might not share it in those words like I just did, but they make desperate attempts to avoid conflict that end up costing the relationship.
Fear of abandonment. I fear you'll leave me if I protest to you about my wants versus yours. When I was growing up and there was a differing opinion between partners, it turned into this chaotic, traumatic event where, plates are getting flown. This is real. I'm talking about real stuff from my childhood. Things got shattered. Okay.
Yeah. Conflict became loud
Conflict
and
became explosive.
scary.
So conflict to me means, okay, this is going to escalate. So I'm going to keep everything kosher here. Like I want to make sure everything's polished, clean, and we're good. Make sure we're good. I'm not conflict avoidant due to my trauma. I just know that being assertive makes more sense in the long term. If
Mm,
I don't like that you put this picture frame here, I'm going to share that with you. I really like that picture, but that's cool. We can go with that picture, but I don't like it.
yeah.
And you got
Because
to feel safe. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry,
oh,
Rachel.
yeah. Yeah. You got to feel safe to be assertive in a relationship and initiate something that might create conflict for sure. Yeah. What I hear you saying is, one of the reasons could be you grew up in a family where conflict became very chaotic
Mm-hmm.
and unsafe, right? It felt unsafe in those moments. Stuff's loud and being thrown. Yeah. You could have also grown up in a family where there was no conflict. Your parents took that in another room. They kept it very hush hush. They hid it from you because they were trying to protect you. So then you grew up not ever seeing it and
Mm-hmm.
maybe have this belief that if a relationship's going well, it's because there's no conflict. And so we just need to not create any.
Mm-hmm. That's another fallacy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Expectation. Another wrongful expectation is that you aren't unique and you won't differ from your partner. And that's called
Mm,
enmeshment,
Mashment.
symbiotic. I feel happy. You should feel happy. I'm mad. You're mad.
Yeah. Yeah. That goes into codependency, which we'll talk about on our next podcast, probably. So stay tuned for that one, folks.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
flowing so well.
Mm.
Hmm. Thank you, Rachel.
Yes, of course. Love the podcast. Love getting on here and hopefully teaching folks a few things, being helpful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, three ways to, well, a couple, a few ways to mitigate unrealistic expectations. I'm thinking make what you want explicit.
Yeah.
Black, white, bold print on the wall. I want 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms for our upcoming house. Explicit. Make it explicit.
Yeah.
What's another thing to mitigate
I'm
unrealistic or not spoken expectation?
I'm thinking there's a lot that goes into this one, but like doing your own inner work, like I mentioned earlier, so
Mm-hmm.
that you are very much aware of your worth and value and you realize that your partner's behavior does not lessen or weaken your lovableness or your worth, right? Because that is going to help you feel more secure being vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
about your fears, your deepest needs and longings in this
Mm-hmm.
relationship, right? Because so many people are afraid if I let my partner behind this wall that I have up, they're going to see the real me and they're
Mm.
going to think less of me and
Yeah.
they're going to realize that I'm unlovable. And so I
Mm-hmm.
can't let them in. That's why I don't tell them what I'm afraid of losing them. I don't tell them that I long to feel more connected to them. Instead, I either shut down and avoid them or I get angry and I lash out.
Mm-hmm. That's good, Rachel. Very good. Holding that in and not making that known.
Yeah.
That's the number one cause of divorce from what I've researched is those unrealistic, unspoken expectations from your partner that you don't make explicit from the start.
Yeah. I would say every couple I've ever worked with, that has been, whether they realized it or not, what led them into therapy.
Yeah. Well, I hope this was helpful to our listeners and that they, gleaned a little bit of insight into their own unrealistic expectations in relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, hope so. Until
Hmm.
next time, everybody, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.